This is the download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Monday, February 23rd. Before I get into the top story, a quick bit of housekeeping. Today's issue is actually co-written by the newest member of the Download crew, Emily Ely. She provided our second and third top story today, as well as 4 of today's quick hits. The prize for guessing which of those 4 quick hits she wrote is a crisp thumbs up emoji if I remember to send it. Anyway, on to the news. First up, podcast ad skipping isn't nearly as bad as I worried. Bumper's Dan Meisner takes a look at what podcast audiences actually do in regards to skipping podcast ads compared to what they say they do. As Sounds Profitable's 2024 report Ad Nauseam found, 46% of listeners say they always or often skip podcast ads. That said, when consumers discuss ad skipping as hypothetical, they can overstate how much they actually skip. Using episode retention histograms from an example podcast episode, one can chart how many skipped an ad. In Dan Meisner's example podcast episode that has 3 mid-roll breaks, the first 2 breaks have a 97% retention rate, while the final ad scored 94% retention. When charting ads out on a graph of percentage avoided versus duration, Bumper's data shows a wide spectrum with a trend favoring brevity. Longer podcast ads seem to be skipped more often. While there is no magic bullet solution to ad retention in podcast advertising, Meisner stresses many podcasts have very strong ad retention, a metric that podcasts would benefit from sharing with their ad partners. Next up, Cannes Lion expands creator program, partners with Adobe, moves to beachfront location. This is one of those ones where they put everything in the headline. Cannes Lion has moved its creator platform to the beach. The festival's Lions creator space is leaving its tucked-away rooftop home for a beachfront location at Palais des Festivals. With Adobe joining on as sponsor of the event, the new space will include on-site access to a stage, content studios, and an editing suite with live demos of Adobe tools. Next up, podcast ad market resets after Q4 surge, but core advertisers hold strong. Magellan AI's January 2026 edition of their top podcast advertising ranker shows that January's podcast advertising market did what January always does, cool off after the holidays. The top 15 advertisers spent a combined $59.8 million USD, down 21% from December. T-Mobile sat at the top with $5.9 million, followed by BetterHelp and Keens. On the movers and shakers side of things, Intuit had a 518% increase in spending as tax season kicks off. And for a final top story, can the creator economy stay afloat in a flood of AI slop? A new episode of TechCrunch's Equity Podcast discusses the creator economy and business decisions made in the era of generative AI content. When considering the value of Gen AI when it comes to replacing content creators and actors, writer Anthony Ha points to authenticity. If an advertiser or creator wants an influencer in their video, they want the authenticity of that person, not a digital simulacra that's vaguely similar. While good news for already successful personalities, Ha acknowledges generative AI video content does have a potential to complicate newer creators monetizing in new areas. New content creators have to fight against the catchy, infinitely scrollable tide of AI content impersonating real viral videos. As for the rest of the news, Transistor co-founder Justin Jackson shares his take on Apple's new video podcast support and what it means for the podcast ecosystem overall. Ozone FM is bringing its global audio platform to Brazil, appointing industry veteran Priscilla Falcone as commercial director to lead the way. Headliner and Hubhopper have teamed up, giving podcasters the ability to use Headliner's AI video clipping tool without leaving the Hubhopper interface. The blog Awful Announcing has recently covered a dynamic ad insertion misfire on the Bill Simmons podcast, in which 2 ads were deployed in such a way that Simmons does an ad read for Pepsi Zero Sugar, immediately followed by a Coke ad, something that, as Pod News notes, and I've linked in today's newsletter, used to be illegal in UK radio advertising. The Los Angeles Times covers podcasting's growth problem, citing Oxford Road's What Brands Want 2025 report from October of last year. And eMarketer has a new piece talking about Spotify's ad exchange, including 222% growth since last year's launch of the exchange. Be sure to check out the links to every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app by clicking the one link in your show notes that'll take you to today's episode post on soundsprofitable.com. The download is written and produced by myself and Emily Ely, and is produced by Brian Barletta, myself, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis. Download us again tomorrow.